Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and I hope you all enjoyed my review of Another Code Recollection. As most of you know, I really enjoyed the original Trace Memory when it first came out, and I never would have imagined that we'd get such an expansive reimagining so many years later. However, one unfortunate thing about Trace Memory is that I had to sell it during a bit of a financial crisis where most of my games and most of my amiibos were sold. However, due to my financial situation finally being resolved, I was able to repurchase Trace Memory, and I played it again twice. Once just the normal playthrough, and then when I realized I got the bad ending, I was like, oh no, I'm not leaving it like this. So then I played through the game again and got the good ending. So then I thought, well, why don't I just replay Another Code Recollection now that I have the first game fresh in my mind? So this is not a re-review, this is not me changing my mind, it's more so of giving additional context based on playing the two games back to back. Also, I will not be covering Journey into Lost Memories, because oh my goodness, Recollection's version of that is pretty bad. The story's great, but that's another topic. So my thoughts on the original Trace Memory were that I thought it was one of those really good but not spectacular types of games. It had some amazing puzzles that really took advantage of what the DS had to offer. It had a story that was just right in terms of it wasn't too complicated, but it also wasn't too simple. It offered a nice, balanced, really good storyline. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was certainly better than most of what Mario had to offer. But it was nice enough for the time, and I really appreciated how there was a lot of optional lore that you could find if you knew where to look. Essentially, it's a click-a-thon, as most DS games of that era were, and it was a joy to be able to compulsively check everything, and that would actually help you get a better ending. However, upon replaying Trace Memory, I realized that it could be kind of a hard and infuriating game. The characters give you very little guidance about where you're supposed to go next, and especially in the puzzles, they're just insufferable. If you do not know how to solve a puzzle, the best that they give you is, maybe if I just take a break and try again, I'll do better at it next time. So in that respect, I really appreciate Another Code Recollection adding a hint system as well as a navigation assist, so that if you're having trouble with the puzzles, the game can help you solve them, and if you're getting lost in the mansion, then the game can point you in the right direction. So automatically, that in itself is an upgrade. I also think that while the puzzles aren't quite as clever as they were in Trace Memory, they also are more consistently enjoyable to solve. Like, Trace Memory had that block pushing puzzle. It had a few really simple ones, like one where you scratch off a piece of paper with charcoal using the touch screen. Like, yeah, that's a pretty basic puzzle by today's comparisons. So Recollection makes you think more about, okay, I need to actually really think, what is the solution to these puzzles? I need to actually think about what I need to do. They're still not mind-numbingly tough, but they're challenging enough without feeling unfair, like some of the ones in the original game did. The characters are much more generous with hints, and you have more, I guess, intuitive understanding of the environment and what you need to do and where you need to go. Speaking of environments, I am blown away by the fact that Recollection completely changed just about everything in the game except for the basic story and characters. The mansion's layout is completely different. It does have a lot of the same rooms, and you'll have a feeling of nostalgia when you return to those rooms, but like, there's multiple floors to the mansion, you can move around in 3D, the sequencing of events is different, there's some all-new rooms, such as the courtyard, which is nice, considering that you never had to go outside again until the very end of the game, once you did step foot inside the mansion. I like how a lot of the classic tunes in the original game were remade, some of them with real instruments. They sound really amazing, and they really got my nostalgia going. I do think that some of the new musical pieces interrupted the atmosphere a little bit. Like, I'd be really enjoying the mansion theme, and then this other tune would come on, and it would kind of take me out of it. But for the most part, I think both games did a good job of providing atmosphere in their own ways. Although I might slightly give the edge to Recollection just because it doesn't have the pixelated graphics that the DS does. That doesn't mean that this game's graphics are perfect. There are some pretty ugly textures and horrendously pixelated details when you're outside, such as in the bushes. The character models are nice though. They feel like they are about probably what they should have looked like on the DS all along, even if some of the character designs are questionable. I think I like them overall. Maybe just... I guess I'm at the point where anime characters, even if they're not like following too many anime cliches, are just going to be annoying no matter how well designed they are. I honestly never expected we would have a game quite to the level of Recollection, where it's just willing to completely rethink even the fundamental structure of the game. I didn't think much of this when I first played it, but I realized that when Nintendo was making the demo of Another Code, they probably thought that in order to sell people on the game, they would have to start out with action to convince people that the game is not a visual novel. Because if we were to go in sequential order, you'd start out on the boat with Ashley talking to the captain and Jessica, and it takes quite a long time before you actually get to explore the island and start solving puzzles. In the remake, you start out of sequence trying to cross a river, and so the audience is already aware, okay, this is a puzzle game. You need to explore your environment. You're not just talking to people all the time. And considering how few people knew about trace memory in the first place, I wouldn't put it past the average customer to be like, who the heck is Ashley? Like, I know she has a trophy in Smash Brothers and a spirit battle in Smash Ultimate, but like, who's she supposed to be? What even is Another Code? I've never heard of that. And for people that are uninformed, if they had stuck with how the original played out, which was just a bunch of talking before you got into the puzzles, they might have thought that it was a very slow-paced, boring time. And now that I think about it, the remake does quite a lot to try to make the experience more cinematic and have less downtime. There are moments in between chapters in the original game where you do a little recap of everything you learned that's completely gone from the remake, for better or for worse. I think the fact that there's now like a character tree so that you can recap the memories of the characters helps alleviate this issue just a little bit. There's also a lot of little touches that I don't want to spoil, because again, I want to try to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but they redesigned some of the sequences so that they're more, I guess, powerful. There's like camera angles and voice acting, and there's even this whole new quest line that they added, which you could argue is padding, but personally I don't think it takes that long. It's just more exploring the mansion, and it kind of makes the ending make slightly more sense. Generally speaking, I guess that's how I would describe the story in Recollection, is that it's more sensical. It doesn't feel like it was a one and done deal like I think the original game was. They were clearly setting up for the events of Journey into Lost Memories in this remake, and they were also trying to make the story feel more grand without taking away from the spirit of the original. Like, the original game still had Dee, who was a ghost who was trying to recover his lost memories. That's still there. The only thing that I really truly miss from the original game, besides the ingenious puzzles, is the sense of humor that the North American version had. I know that's a controversial take, as a lot of people prefer the European script, and I know the game developers do too, because that's clearly what this remake was based on. But there were some corny-ish jokes that still make me chuckle a little bit, like when Ashley first finds out that the butler's name is Wells, she says, "Was he born with such a butler-ish sounding name?" Nowhere to be found in the remake. There's also a joke where Ashley's trying to move a rock out of the way, and when she finishes, she says, "I rock," and also gives a little quip about, like, "Good thing I've been working out lately," and that's nowhere to be found. Or when she and Dee meet and they both realize that they're trying to get their memories back, Dee says, "Hey, I think that makes us kindred spirits," and that's gone too. There's a few gag lines in here, but not that many. It's honestly kind of a depressing game, and I think the original game was trying to make it less depressing and less serious, if you're the type of person that doesn't want a lighthearted time, then maybe the remake is not for you. Or other way around, sorry. I'm trying to do this all in one take, and I've almost succeeded with one minimal interruption from one of my family members. Overall, without trying to spoil stuff, I do think that if you really want to re-experience Trace Memory, this remake is worth renting, but it's not worth replacing the original game. I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses. I might slightly prefer the remake just because of the quality of life improvements such as the autoplay and the hint system and the voice acting, but at the same time I can also see where the argument could be made against it. Now at this point in time it is September 21st, so I'm not 100% sure if Recollection is going to make it on my best games of 2024 list. It's gonna be a close one, put it that way. But if it's not on the list, then I at least want to take this time right now to commemorate how great of an effort the team did in making this feel like a grand reimagining on the level of like Final Fantasy VII Remake. And if nothing else, Nintendo brought back a series that I think we all assumed was dead. So thank you very much, Nintendo and the development company that I do not know the name of off the top of my head. You guys made an incredible remake of one of my favorite games. Not so great on Journey into Lost Memories, but the Trace Memory portion, you guys nailed it. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what your experiences with Trace Memory are, and if you've never heard of it, did either my review and or this video convince you to give it a try? Let me know either way, and until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!